All right. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us all here today. Today's Shaar should be the Ilu Nishmas, our dear friend Menachem ben Yisrael Yaakov, as well as my dear aunt Rivka Bas Gavriel Tzvi, and for Zaidi, Reb Shmuel ben Yosef Dov HaKohen, B'schus, the Refuah Shalema Bekarov, Meshalom ben Tzarachel, Miriam Basara, and Yair Yeshia ben Chaya Atara. Today, we are on page 227 in the Or Avigdor, for those who are following along. And today we're moving on to another category of Bitachon. So I just want to go back for a second. This whole Paycheck V, fourth Paycheck, revolves around where there's a split between where to have Bitachon and how to apply that. And there's two main categories. The first main category is things that pertain to this world, and then things that pertain to Olam Haba. And we're still in the middle of things that pertain to this world. And the first of which we spoke about we just finished yesterday, was regarding your personal well-being, your health and your well-being. And we finished talking about that. Now, I just want you to understand that the concepts are very similar in nature, in the thought process, when it comes to every one of these categories, but there are certain nuances in how to go about it. And again, over here, Chavos HaVavos is trying to help us understand and kind of learn how to cope with these things better, how to live a life with a lot less anxiety, a life that is filled with trust in Hashem, and really making it part of your DNA that is how it is. And that hishtadlus, which is a big part of this, is, and in every aspect, is something that I need to do. And that's the overall theme over here. Hishtadlus is not something you do because you're looking for an outcome. Hishtadlus is something you do because that's what you were asked to do. This morning I was learning, my Charusa Ari was telling me something about his son and learning Torah, and he said he doesn't understand it, and he says he's so frustrated and he doesn't want to learn it anymore. And so we got into this discussion and said, no, the Torah tells us, Lilmud L'Lamed, Hashem, every time he commands us to do something, whether it's go to work or do a mitzvah, or Hashem doesn't say, for instance, when you learn, he doesn't say, know the whole Torah. He doesn't say that. That's not the commandment. The commandment is to learn Torah. The commandment is to go to work. Hashem doesn't say, go make money, go make $1 million. It doesn't say that. His commandment is to go and just do something. And that's what we saw the different areas before where Hashem told Shaar to put the salt into the water, right? It's because Hashem just wants you to do an action to show your commitment to His world, and then the outcome is what He's going to produce from it is irrelevant to what you are doing. And that's the overall theme that we're doing over here. And whether it has to do with learning Torah and understanding the whole Torah, yeah, there are some people that do. They grasp a concept a lot better than others. Their brains work a lot better, right? But the schar that you get isn't on the outcome, isn't because you know the whole Shas Baal Peh, you get more schar. No, the schar you get is because you keep learning Gemara, because you keep learning the Torah, because you keep on doing what's right. And that's where the schar comes. The same thing with the hishtadlus for work. The mitzvah of hishtadlus, it's not just a do it, it's a mitzvah to do hishtadlus at every moment. You can see over here in a second, every moment that you go and you have in mind that you're doing this for the sole purpose because Hashem asked me to do it, you get schar for that. So you are winning, even though when you think you're not getting anything out of it, but you are winning every single moment when you have in mind and you're doing it for the sole purpose because Hashem asked you to do that. Now, let's get into this. It says, the second part of Bitachon, Binyone Kinyone Adam, involves a person's possessions. Vesiba is tarpari, his sources of income, Be'afnei Askav, and his way of earning a living. And this includes, any kind of things, whether it's your investments, whether it's your day-to-day, your 9-to-5 job. He says over here, he brings some examples, Kimischa, such as a businessman, Umalacha, a craftsman, Vahalichas Adrachim, commercial traveler, Uminu, a manager, or Schirus, a salaried worker, Eupkidos, a civil service employee. It says Vavoidus Hamalachim, and also royal service. So people who work for kings or presidents or government officials. Vigizbarus, accountants, vikablanos, contracts, v'amana, bankers, goes to a bunch of a sifrus and a scribe, a sofer, umine havoidus, and other services. Valichas amidbares v'yam, traveling across deserts or oceans, v'hadoime, lezem imasha maskin, boy the kabetz moment. And similar things that people do and they engage in every single day in order to create a livelihood for themselves. And be able to indulge in extras. And he puts that in as an important point, People do things not just to survive. People do things so they can have nice things. You want to have a nice home, a nice car. Everyone has a different idea of what that means, but nobody goes to work just to make bread and water. No one does that. People go because they want a little extras. You want nice shoes. Yontif comes around. All those little extra stuff. The right ways of having Bitachon in Hashem, in all these things, is to do the kind of work that Hashem has chosen for him by providing him with the specific talents, intellect, and physical strength, so that he can work to meet his basic requirements and sustenance, and to acquire whatever he needs in this world. We spoke about the beginning of Chovos Avavos and Shaar Bitachon, when going in Bitachon, when it comes to looking for a job, for a business, or whatever it is, it says that you should find something, look for something that you feel that you'd be good at, whether it's a physical thing, maybe you're a day laborer, or you're a farmer, or if you're not as strong but you're smart, maybe you do something like a lawyer, all kinds of different things. But the idea is over this to do something that you feel will be suitable for you. Don't get involved in something that you feel like is going to be detrimental to your everyday physical or mental health. And so a person is expected to do things that Hashem brings into his power to do. And that's one of the points he's making over here, is that Hashem gives people different talents. For instance, there are people that are musically inclined, right? Use those talents. Hashem gave you an opportunity with a specialty, a talent, use that talent to make money. People have different kinds of talents. Go about using that talent to be able to produce an income for yourself and provide for your family. And he says, of course, you should not seek things that are dangerous for him. Don't look for things that might be detrimental to your health, like we just said. And if Hashem ordains after all this that he should have more money than the things and things that he needs or wants, Hashem will bring it. It will come to him without any extra labor or effort, provided he relies on Hashem for it. What his point is, what he's saying is, let's say somebody has an easy job, right? A very light job, and he makes enough money to kind of survive. But he wants extras. He says, if I only put in more hours, if I do extra work, if I get a second job, he says, don't do that. If you're looking for those extras, Hashem is going to give you those extras regardless of whether you go look for it or not. You're going to get that. If it's the creed from by Hashem that you should have it, you're going to get it anyway. He should not be too energetic in going after other means to acquire more wealth. Don't try to push yourself, let me try this to get it more and more and more, because Hashem is going to send it to you if he wants you to have it. And he says over here, if a person is a farmer, he has to work like a farmer. If he's a laborer doing construction, he has to work like a bricklayer, any kind of labor, even though it entails heavy work, but if he's physically able to do that, then do it. If you're not, then find something else and look for something else. And that's the overall theme over here, and we're going to get into more Mitzvah Hashem next week. But that's kind of like part of that introduction of understanding that at the end of the day, you need to do your part. And now in the category of work, he's going to come through those different ideas to help you with it. But again, the overall theme over here is understanding that you need to do something. You can't sit around and just rely. The biggest Baal Bitachon of the world can't sit around and just say, Hashem is going to provide, I don't have to do anything. No, Hashem asked you to do something about it. Whatever that task is for the time, whether it's for a health purpose or for a financial purpose, whatever that reason is, Hashem said, go and do your part. I will help you. Don't worry, I got you. But you still have to do your hishtadlus. Now, this week's Parshas Noach, I'll finish off with something a little bit different. I usually like to find stuff that have to do with Bitachon and stuff like that, but something a little bit different, and something's actually, it touches a lot of us. And for me personally, I've done this many, many times. It says, imagine, this is from Rabbi Shaul Rosenblatt. He says this story. He says, imagine for a moment that you're Noach, right? And you come out of the Teva, come out of the Ark, and the world is completely empty. There's not an animal. There's not a human being. The only people in existence are on the ark still. So you're stepping foot on the ground after Hashem wiped everybody out, and there's nothing there. It's depressing. Rabbi Shaul Rosenblatt says, he says when he went to visit the concentration camps, he went to Birkenau, he cried for hours of thinking of the devastation of 6 million people, 6 million Jews that were wiped out. And he says, I can't even imagine what Noach felt when he steps foot on ground and there's nobody left other than what's on the table, his family and the animals on the table, like what he feels like. And understand that it says over there, what's the first thing he did? He went and planted a vineyard and got drunk. I would also. Like, you feel depressed. It's difficult. Now, why is he so depressed? He's so depressed because for 120 years before the Mabul, Noach was telling people, guys, you got to change. You're not doing right. You're doing huge averos. Hashem is going to come in. He's really going to take it. He's going to punish you. And nobody listened. And that took a big toll on him. He brings over here a piece. I watched this movie many years ago, Schindler's List. And at the end of Schindler's List, you see Oscar Schindler is looking at his car. And there's a depressing moment, a sad moment, I should say, comes into mind at that point. He looks at his car and he thinks to himself, if only he would have pawned off that car, he could have saved 10 more Jews. If only he would have sold his watch, he would have been able to get a couple more Jews. If he would have sold his suit, he would have been able to save a couple more Jews from the concentration camps. And there's this unsettling nerve that just comes onto you that you could have done more. That there's something you could have done that it would bring more benefit to this world. And you think of it that way. And Rabbi Shaar Rosenblatt, he says there was an Asia event in the United Kingdom years ago that he participated in. There was this one boy that was extremely unhappy. And throughout the night, he was thinking, should I go over to him and talk to him? At the end of the night, he didn't go over to the guy and talk to him, and the guy left. A while later, he found out that unfortunately this boy has taken his own life, jumped in front of a bus. He says, I broke down, and I thought to myself, I could have prevented that. I could have talked to the boy, and perhaps this could have changed his life. We all have that. In hindsight, we look at things, it's like, wow, if I only would have done this, maybe I could have reached out to this person. I know this person is sad. Like, reach out, say a good word. Sometimes that's all people need. And very often, we don't even know that people are in the situations that they are. But to go ahead and constantly be that kind of person that reaches out and asks people, how are you? Just a good word. You don't have to get into a whole deep, meaningful conversation. Just be a smile and a kind word. And Rabbi Shaar Rosenblatt says it's an exercise that he feels that every person should do. Just to, first of all, look around you. Look at your friends. Look at your families. People that you know from your community. And see, there's always someone that you can recognize that might need a little bit of love, a hug. And just reach out to them. Because you don't want to regret it later saying, like, if only I would have reached out. If only I would have just turned to that guy walking into shul and just given him a hug, or said, good Shabbos, good Yontif to him, and just a little bit better. Maybe I could have made his day a little bit better. And that's really what it is. We try hard, but we always have the hindsight, it's like, only if I would have tried harder. And that's, this week, this month, just a little extra. Whatever you do, I know most people I know, everyone this year, is the kind of people that you do that. You're the kind of people that do reach out to others. You're the kind of people who do show love to others. But this week, do a little extra. Take one extra person. Just reach out to make one extra phone call. Maybe especially if it's someone that you avoided reaching out to, or someone who you just don't feel comfortable. Get out of your comfort zone. Reach out to them. Talk to them. Give them a hug. Show them the love. And that's really what it is. Thank you, everyone, for joining us all here today. Have a beautiful Shabbos. And as always, I love you all.